Hey everyone, long time no see. I apologize for the large gap in uploads. I moved to Japan and my life has changed significantly, as one would expect, so I haven't been able to pop out videos like I was before during the initial adjustment period, but I'm officially back today with a new J-pop journal with me video, this time focusing on Heisei Jump in belated celebration of their 15th anniversary as promised in my previous Jump journal video. I'm looking forward to doing their 15th anniversary spread and sharing that here with you at some point. Today we're doing something a little different than usual. I kind of had this idea floating around in my head since doing the secret flap thing for Irie's Do Me a Favor era entry, and I thought this would be a good time to give it a whirl. I'll be creating two flaps, one on either side, to create a door of sorts that can be opened to reveal the entry inside. So we've got the little flaps in there, which I remember being very frustrating to line up properly, and after all of that effort, I realized I actually probably should have done this last, now that I think about it. But we're gonna go ahead anyway and work with it and hope for the best with this, I guess. Too late to change it now. The concept here is to have all of the A-side singles and albums listed out in order of release, singles first and then albums, over and over again to fill the background. I made a few mistakes here and there, but it's not really noticeable once all of it is covered up later because I love spending insane amounts of time doing detail work for art pieces. It's just gonna get mostly covered up in the final result anyway. I got really lucky and the repeating pattern that starts with their debut single ended up ending perfectly on their most recent, so I was super happy about that little detail. The next stage is painting some watercolor flowers onto the page. I kind of had a vision for this, but I was honestly mostly winging it and not having a good time doing it. I was attempting to use my watercolors for this, and I think that was problem number one. The journal I'm using, despite having heavy enough paper and being advertised as good for watercolor and heavy markers, doesn't really hold up in my experience. The pages can't take much water without warping, or I don't know, they just don't seem to take pigment well at all for some reason. As you can see, I'm getting grayish blobs here, which could be partially the pen underneath lifting a little, which I kind of expected. But I was using more paint than water while doing some outline work to try to get some idea of shapes and such, and it was just not nearly as vibrant as I needed it to be. I was already feeling really drained and just not in the most creative space at the time, so I don't think that helped things by any means, but I got so incredibly frustrated with this that I needed to step away from it and come back with a fresh mind another time. I of course didn't return to it until a month later, days before my departure, because I knew I needed to finish this before I left for Japan so I could make it into a video for you guys, and I just hadn't had the time or energy in between to return to something that I wasn't enjoying doing at the time. But I finally sat down on the floor of my bedroom and got to work, starting with where I left off with the painting process. Myself it's okay because it's an art journal, and that's kind of the whole point, is that it's supposed to be kind of experimental and fun, but I'm not really having fun with this one. It's just I had a specific vision in mind, and it's not really turning out that way. And I'm too far past the point to really fix that, I think. It took a while, but this round I started seeing progress with the flowers and developing some more vibrant colors going on here. Now I'm wondering, do I outline in black or white or nothing. I feel like they might need something to outline them, and if it weren't for the black writing I would do it, but I feel like because there's black writing it would get all like weird. I think I need the images. I need to go get those from down in the basement and see how I think about it with the images on there. Is actually most of what I've painted. So I think I'm gonna paint a few more like around the edges, but kind of lean more into this color green. This bluish green color. I wish I would have had the photo on hand, because then I would have used this color from the start. The other ones have a more warm green. Unfortunately, there isn't much I can do about that now. I could try to cool it off a bit. What's done is done. Once I had the main flowers painted and the colors adjusted more to my liking, I added some faded leaves to fill out the page a bit more. Once I placed the picture on there and looked at where I was at, I realized it might be best to have the flowers further defined with a black outline, so I went ahead and got to work on that. I was a little worried this would mess it up, but I think this was the right call. Glued in the center of the main image because I wanted to be able to lift it at the sides to reveal the writing and the flower design underneath. I also hate how hard it is to shut my journal when stuff is glued across. It's like a constant problem with me, so I figured this would prevent that issue. The next stage was all these cute little two-shots that are going to be scattered on either side. I can only find so many of these uploaded to Pinterest to print, but I made a point of making sure that each jump member was featured at least 3 times, and with mostly unique member combos, but it was actually really difficult to do that. I wanted to add a little something to these pages, so I did some doodling, similar to my previous jump spread, and a lot like what I do over on my Insta with my photos. I did it in black, so it stands out and also matches the black writing on the main page. I'm sure I could have been a bit more creative with it in hindsight, but this was a bit of a rush job to get this filmed and done in time before I had to leave, so, you know, it is what it is. I really do like how the doodles look though. Now, I want to take a moment here to note that this part was filmed in early March prior to my move to Japan. I wasn't entirely sure at the time how much time and energy I would have to be creating content, on top of only being able to bring so much with me and having to prioritize certain things when packing. So I didn't bring my tripod for filming journaling videos or most of my journaling supplies. I brought a large Ziploc bag that held journaling essentials and a few fun things that I really wanted to use, and that was it. I also didn't bring this journal or my art journal with me, just my traveler's notebook that would be wearing multiple hats while I'm in Japan for the year. That said, this isn't the end of this series, it's just a temporary break from it. When I visit my family later in the summer, I'm gonna try to film a video or two then. Maybe bring back some things so that I can maybe continue the series here in Japan, but I worry about everything I have to bring back home if I'm not able to stay after the 1 year, so I don't want to accumulate too much here in Japan. I mentioned earlier how we're doing things a little bit different today in terms of the design of the spread, but we're also doing things a little bit different in terms of how I film this series. When it comes to this particular video, because I was in the process of cleaning up and, in the days leading up to moving to Japan, I cleaned and reorganized a whole bunch of things and decluttered my basement art space, and I put away a lot of things by this point, like a lot of my filming equipment. And so because I'd kind of already went through the effort to clean everything up and put everything away and I had everything neat, I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't really want to take it all out so that I could film this as I normally would from a top-down perspective. So this video is interestingly a little more vlog-like in terms of the way that it's filmed, but that's just because of the circumstances at the time. So just let me know in the comment section what you think of this kind of style, if you like the more casual vlogish sort of tone of this, maybe you would like to see more of that from time to time, or if you like the usual top-down format with occasional close-up shots of detail work that I'm doing. Let me know, I'd love to hear. Anyway. I thought the idea of having a doorway held together by a string was a cute idea, but admittedly it's not super practical, as you can see here. Getting the string through the holes is not easy, so it's sort of a pain in the ass to have to remove it entirely to get a view of what's inside, and then have to put it back in again later. Despite all the initial frustration and trial and error that went into putting this spread together, the final result is pretty cute and I'm satisfied with it. Sitting down to mindlessly paint and create this spread during a time of major anxiety and stress was very therapeutic at the time, so the fact that I didn't get it done right away was a good thing in the end. I'm excited to get back to my J-pop journal later this summer, as I really miss it a lot, so I hope you're also looking forward to what I create next too. Thanks so much for watching. Sorry again for the delay in posting, and I'll see you again in another J-pop journal episode soon.